Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gym Challenge Sunday. It's the second PC of the weekend, and it's Gym Challenge number 4. Even though technically yesterday was number 5, but we're here, first round of the day, and everyone everyone has come back to get their own crack at points here. So first match is going to be Daniel Franklin versus Joshua Denk. Two very prominent SoCal players. They come to all these PCs and they're very good. So this is gonna be a really fun match to watch. Both of them very strong players. Know them personally myself, so they'll give us a good show for this one. So coming up with the teams, right? We have on on Josh's side is King Gambit, Amoongus, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Dragon Knight, Chien Pao, and Fluttermane. Right, and for Daniel, we're gonna have Landorus, Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, Weezing. Right, Weezing, it's a very interesting Pokemon in this format, right? I mean, it negates abilities and has a lot of has actually good typing into one of the strongest Pokemon, Fluttermane. All right, a resist the Moon Blast. The Shadow Ball can be a pain for it, right? But I mean, it's good resist and it turns off a lot of crucial abilities. Especially the Unseen Fist coming out from the right. It does let its teammates protect against Urshifu, which is very good, very good utility to have, right? And also negates like stuff like the Defiant and stuff from King Gambit if he wants to put in the Landorus, right? So like he can also run something like the Landorus Weezing to prevent the Intimidate, which is very actually good option he could do if he thinks Daniel's gonna run. It's a good option if he thinks Daniel's. But also that means the Intimidate won't go off, so that's like one. But it seems like both of them have selected their Pokemon, so it's time to get into the first match of the day. So, yeah, I mean, see what they lead here. It's gonna be Iron Hands and Weezing versus Dragonite and Chien Pao. So this is Dragonite Chien Pao, very classic hyper offensive lead here, right? And crucially though, right, is the inner focus from the Dragonite is negated by the Weezing, right? And Weezing also applies burn pressure to both the Pokemon. So it's actually a good combo that Daniel can do here, right? Fake out plus the Will-O-Wisp into one, depending on which one he thinks is more valuable to take out. But and since the inner focus is not there, actually, he can't actually flinch the Dragonite. So he is thinking, Josh here is thinking about the Terastallization here. He might just go for a normal Ice Spinner, and he goes for the fake out here. Just getting the chip on Dragonite, but it's not gonna flinch. It is gonna flinch here, and Ice Spinner does not do as much because of the Sword of Ruin being negated, right? And Will-O-Wisp onto the Dragonite. So Daniel realizing Dragonite burning the Dragonite here is very valuable, right? And since the Sword of Ruins turned off, right, it's not an insane. Both these Pokemon aren't like a super insane threat here, right? So, Dragonite gonna take the burn chip, and we see next turn that Josh is actually thinking about maybe switching out or just going straight for the Stomping Tantrum, right? It's not going to do much, but it is really good chip onto or the Iron Hand. While Chien Pao is not actually applying that much pressure as you would think, right? Because it's sort of activated, and Weezing here is threatening another burn. It is most likely not going to faint from a double up for one, that being one, right? So he does lock in the Protect, trying to preserve the Chien Pao. Let's see what he goes with this Dragonite. Weezing also protecting, trying to preserve that neutralizing gas disruption. And Iron Hands, so he does Stomping Tantrum into the Weezing here, trying to threaten it with some chip damage, which is honestly a good play there. And actually we get a generally a not very eventful turn here, right? We had a double protects, both attacks going into protect. Right? This next turn is going to be a little more tricky, right? Because Chien Pao won't have access to protect, and neither will, right? So it is technically possible to double up into that, while it might not be the most optimal play because the Iron Hand's just sitting there and it's gonna get very valuable damage again foul. But he does go for the Ice Spinner into the Iron Hand. Does a good chunk actually. And Stomping Tantrum as well. With the double up, a good chunk there as well. The burn kind of sucks. The burn reduced the damage there. Now Weezing gets the burn on both Pokemon here, and that is actually very huge. Right now, both these Pokemon are not very they're not very threatening on the side of this on Josh's side of the field, right? So Iron Hands will be able to just, you know, throw out drain punches, throw out wild charges, right? Just pull into Dragonite, the drain punches, 4 times affected Qian Pao, and Qian Pao's sash is also crucially broken as well, right? So it is a bit of a rough spot for Josh here, and Daniel's playing the playing Wii well with all the disruption fighting. And again, Iron Hands, I would say it's not relatively untouched, but it is, it is chipping away at his teeth while, you know, putting on some pressure, right? And Iron Hand's a big chunk going into Iron Hand. Does Sludge Bomb into the Dragonite, does actually a really good amount of damage, and protects the Qian Pao crucially, so it doesn't get that Drain Punch healing. That's actually really huge. Not because, not only did he avoid the 4 times super effective attack that probably would have taken down the Qian Pao, crucially, he can attack again into the Iron Hands, most likely, and actually get the KO. It is low enough, right? So, very, very good play from Josh here, actually, kind of playing out of the situation pretty well, even though he has 2 burn Pokemon. And really smart switch out actually here from Daniel. Right, let's see what he goes with. Iron Bundle. So, if a Stomping Tantrum comes out, it could take a Stomping Tantrum and possibly something else coming out from Genpao, right? While it does 4x resist, that does nothing with the burn and sort of. The Stomping Tantrum might not do much either. Wow, he gets in this Iron Bundle very safely here. Gets a good chunk on the Genpao. Well, and the burn is slowly ticking away with no real recovery. Genpao and Dragonite on Josh's side. Right, so it's it is really tough for Josh right now, but I mean, he does have ways to bring this back, right? I mean, right now it looks like he really is just playing for like good chip damage because from what it seems, right? Daniel does not have much healing on his side of the field, right? So he is playing the defensive game really well, though, because he's just letting them away, right? So Josh is really tough situation here. And then you just have Weezing firing off these sludge bombs. And there goes down the Qian Pao here. Finally off the field, right? And I'm guessing Josh kind of did want it to go down in a way, right? Because he does get a free switch to 1. And let's see what he does. We'll see what he has in the back here, right? He has Gambit. So it's gonna be King Gambit putting on some offensive pressure here, right? While it can be burned, right, it does have options to threaten this Iron Bundle, right? So he goes for the extreme speed. It does a good amount of chunk. Let's see what it does afterwards. Oh, the Icy Wind though, it's gonna make it slower than the weak, but it will proc Defiant here, and unfortunately he will just get burned here. If the Will-O-Wisp, right? I mean, goes for the Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp does hit, so even with the attack boost, it is somewhat neutralized here, right? So while the King Gambit won't be doing as much damage as you expect from +2, it will do solid amount. Does not quite take out the Iron Bundle though. Iron Bundle having a pretty good defense stat naturally, right? So even with that, even it being like a neutral hit, it still takes it well. But now in comes Urshifu, and like I did say earlier, right, it does negate the Unseen Fist, unfortunately. So and what I did realize is his Urshifu is similar to actually Riley Factura's, right? Regional Terra Poison. Very interesting, right? Most go for the Terra Water, right? Just make sure to get the max amount of damage here, but he's going for the Terra Poison, right? Possibly to reduce some Sludge Bomb damage. And Iron Bundle goes for the really good Protect there. And probably going to fire off a Will-O-Wisp with the Weezing here, right? And I'm sure Josh is hoping, right? And it doesn't miss um, Daniel here having a 4-for-4 here. Again, he's playing this Weezing is doing a number. Josh is now, and it's gonna be interesting how he adapts in the game. But it is good though that Josh is probably gonna be scouting for. I mean, he doesn't really have an insane way back into this, right? He has to deal. He did bring essentially 4 physical attackers into a burn, so it is looking quite tough for him. Gonna have to think about a good game plan coming into this, right? He gives King Gambit another attack boost. This may or may not be actually. Then ooh, Surging Strikes, very little damage. Oh, it might not KO. Let's see if the roll gets it here. It does not. Very unfortunate. The burn and Iron Bundle not quite go down there. And then now Weezing could now start setting up taunts on King Gambit here, right? But King Gambit unfortunately just not having it. Believe it does not actually have Sword Stance, but I mean it does prevent it from protecting, which is actually also very whatever he has in the back. He could send in the Iron Hand really drain punch. So even though he's not permanently a Sword Stance, he could prevent the Pact coming. So again, this Weezing putting in a lot of work. Right? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. 4-for-4 burns, taunting, protecting. So it's gonna be really, Josh deals with. Right, he does have some special attackers on, like impossible, but it is a Flutter main. So potentially use that next game. Also, he would have to be something. So, Iron Hands going down to the Surging Strikes, though. I mean, even while burned, was still a lot of damage. So yeah, Weezing going for the Sludge Bomb here. Not doing much, but the burn is still ticking away. Actually, Daniel down to 2 Pokemon here, right? And honestly, I mean, it is actually turning out to be a little closer than you would think. But the Chi-Yu comes out, and it is a Life Orb Chi-Yu. It can just kind of click Wave here, and assuming this both hits, it probably game for them. Who does protect though? That's actually very smart, right? It wants to chip off, right? Also King Gambit with punch, right? Goes into there, and since Unseen Fist negated, that protect also goes through here, and these will just take a little bit of burn damage. Oh my god, that Sludge Bomb just taking out even the that's a critical hit there. No, it might have survived, but I think probably went down to the chip out. But really good call on the double up into the Chi-Yu here, so got a free attack off with Weezing. And now Chi-Yu could really spam, or you could just overheat. It could just go for the overheat, right? And game. So yeah, I mean, it was a really tough game for Josh here, right? I mean, again, the 4 physical attackers into the burns, and him really kind of relying on the Defiant ability, right? And actually, funny enough, I did just realize that he wasn't really even getting the boost from the Defiant ability and the overheat miss. And yeah, again, even though I was talking about neutralizing gas this entire time, I did also forget about just the Defiant not proccing, right? Yeah, I was talking so much about Unseen Fist that I realized that I wasn't thinking about the Defiant there, but yeah, this Weezing is putting in so much work. It just got Will-O-Wisp with taunts after taunts, right? So we're gonna go in the next game and see how Josh actually adapts to this, right? And see if Daniel can also make a counter adaptation, right? Because he knows this is a big problem for Josh's team, right? So if he finds a win condition on Josh's team that can potentially counter this, right? He can also put that. So it's a real interesting dynamic here, right? And I think it with the amount of hard time Josh would add into the matchup, right? I think Fluttermane, personally, I think Fluttermane bring here. Um, just it is really annoying though that Weezing also still just resists um, blast coming out from it, but I mean Shadow Ball is no slouch, right? So yeah, let's see. I'm curious to see how Josh will bring this back here. Um, again, he has a lot of physical attackers. Also, I mean, this can be a good mon to that lead, right? I mean, it's still, while it won't get the, actually, well, it technically will actually get the regenerator, right? Because it is on switch out. So, actually really good. You could leverage that ability into the matchup. And it could also, crucially, eat the burns coming out from the, right? Um, take a Rage Powder away. There's not really any, actually not really a safety goggle Daniel's side, right? So Rage Powder does put in a lot of work here, and he does resist a good amount, not quite. So it will be really crucial how he plays this here, right? So the leads are going to be Weezing Bundle against Fluttermane and Ingus, right? So now what's crucial here, right, is that it will drop the speed of Iron Bundle will be going first because of the booster variant, right? And it's gonna be it's gonna be going first, maybe getting that icy wind off or potential freeze dry, right? Amoonguss is kind of threatened here. I believe it or not, right? So yeah, Amoonguss, it being Terra Water, the freeze dry will options here. So it is going to be really interesting, especially since the Amoonguss does not have uh, protect here, right? So it has to go for a move or switch out, right? It probably doesn't want to switch out for anything in the back, right? So he's gonna Iron Bundle's gonna go for the protect here, and he's gonna try to do something here as well, right? Feldman goes for the dazzling, right? And that's actually a good lock in, right? Just get him. Daniel does not bite, and he goes for the protect there, and a taunt on the moon, very huge here, right? Pollen Puff going into Iron Bundle, and crucially though, right? Amoonguss may be taunted, but it does still have access. It still does have access to two attacking moves, right? And while Iron Bundle is not the heaviest Pokemon, the Grass Knot will do a lot of damage, low special defense stat, right? So he can go for it. He's going to go for the Dazzling Gleam again. Icy Wind connects on both Pokemon. Amoonguss takes a good chunk. Fluttermane takes a decent chunk as well, right? And we do want to see what this Weezing will go into. It is crucially still faster than the Weezing. Iron Bundle taken down really low. Fluttermane going into the Fluttermane, not doing too much damage, but getting the poison. Now this Fluttermane's on a very strong timer here, but he goes for the Grass Knot into the Iron Bundle, picking it up, and that taunt, not really Amoonguss not really caring for that taunt actually. I mean, it just said like, hey, taunt me, but like I have two attacking moves, like what's up? So yeah, I mean, Amoonguss being able to play out of that, it's kind of a sticky situation. Still won't have access to regions, Spore and Rage Powder for like, I would say like another 2 turns, right? But I mean, damage has been done, and crucially, this Chi-Yu, is possibly going to be faster than this Fluttermane, considering that the speed drop went through, right? So Josh will either have to cycle it out, or maybe do his best to preserve it next turn, right? And Chi-Yu is really actually threatening with these Pokemon like really hard here, right? And not only although it does not have its beads of ruin, but actually it is actually kind of a blessing in disguise there, right? Because this also means uh, it also means Weeping will not take that much from maybe like a Shadow Ball. So Amoonguss being switching out here, you know, getting some regenerator off, and looks like Floodmane is gonna be switching, and let's see if Denk goes for a burn here. Maybe predicting that. Let's see, and if not, oh, Chiyu going for the heat wave. That being faster than the Fluttermane, and it does hit the Dragonite. Let's see if anything happens. Nope, no burns. Weezing does go for the Will-O-Wisp prediction. That's very well played by Daniel there, right? Instead of just going for like a Sludge Bomb for damage, he just went for the burn, right? And he knew those pretty. It was a pretty riskless play on his part, right? Because I mean, at least even if he burns the Amoonguss, he doesn't outright KO it, but it does put it on like some sort of a timer, right? Unless it switch out and cycle. So it wasn't actually a very big risk for him. So good job on him recognizing that, right? Now he has a huge advantage with Dragonite just not being able to do as much damage as you expect, right? And Bloodermane being unfortunately a lot slower, right? So does need to find. I would say if Josh he would have to find a way to cycle back out the Fluttermane. He's gonna, um, I guess he's gonna just try to eat it with Yufu, and see if Daniel goes for another Will-O-Wisp here. Let's see if he predicts the switch out into physical attacker. He goes to the Stomping Tantrum, the Chiyu. See what the Weezing goes here. Goes for a Sludge Bomb, so actually taking out the safe play and actually getting the poison again on the Sludge Bomb. That believe it or not, that might actually be good for the Urshifu, right? Because I mean, now it doesn't have to contend with the potential burn, but this Chi is probably faster, and it will probably get another. So it is, while the poison still is a sticky situation for Josh, I guess he'd rather get poisoned than burned next turn, right? So again, again, sticky situation, a lot of burns, a lot of poisons coming through. He is gonna terrastalize here into his Chiyu, oh, Daniel that being, right, into Ghost, avoiding the potential close combat damage here. Does Josh read into it with his surging strikes here? We'll see. He does. Oh wow, the Urshifu is faster. This looks like it's a modest Chiyu and probably a jolly Urshifu. It's actually really good here, right? Going before the Weezing and the Chiyu, though he is getting burned here, right? Most likely gonna get burned here. Josh has actually found a way to kind of claw his way back into this game, right? I mean, while it is burned, right? Two threats on the two threats on Daniel's team have been kind of neutralized in a sense, right? I mean, again, Sludge Bomb going to the Urshi, leftovers proccing, right? And thing is it will kind of be hard here, right, for Weezing to potentially to like 1v no 1v3 this, right? So I mean, it does depend on what comes out. Most likely the Iron Hand's probably in the back here, um while Fluttermane still hasn't terrastalized, right? So I mean, does wanna go for something like that, but I mean, maybe he also decides on the immune for the little chip, right? But he does end up opting for the Fluttermane, and we have Iron Hands in the back ready to cause some problems here, and now is under immense fake out pressure, especially into the Dragonite. But luckily, actually, it does not is not able to fake out the Fluttermane here, right? So uh, he is planning on seeing if he wants to terrastalize or not. I mean, it just does depend on how Daniel's situation out, and does he get the prediction on this terrastalization here? Um, if he fakes out here, the game's over, but I mean, if he wants to go for the safe play and fake out the Dragonite, we'll see. He kind of needs this Terra in order to probably get the KO on this. Goes for the Weezing goes for the protect. What did Iron Hands go for? Iron Hands does not go for the fake out. Moonblast going into the Iron Hands. Assault Vest, let's see if it lives. It lives barely on 1 HP. Special attack drop. Little does that matter. Let's see if this is enough. Oh, barely enough. But Iron Hands gets the heavy slam into the Fluttermane. Oh, Iron Hands crucially surviving there. Fluttermane going down, but the damage has been done, so it is still possible for Josh to maybe come back from this. But it is a very uphill battle, considering that he will have to somehow get through the Amoonguss. I mean, get through the Weezing with Amoonguss and Dragonite while he's on like a really, while he's on a really strict, he's on a really strict burn timer, right? So, I mean, while it is really rough, it is not impossible. Josh to come back from this, right? He gets the free Stomping Tantrum onto Iron Hands, right? That's most likely going to take it out based on how much damage it did before, and then they can try to go for like a Spore onto the Weezing, right? But I mean, Weezing does have the taunt available, right? And if it does taunt, it will not do that much damage, right? But like Josh playing pretty well into this. He did leverage his Fluttermane pretty well here. Now it's just two Dragonite versus the Weezing. Goes for the Sludge Bomb. Amoonguss does get poisoned. No, it does not. Because it's a poison type. So it does not get poisoned. And he's pollen puffing up the Dragonite here to keep it topped up here. So Dragonite, him realizing Dragonite is his win con here, right? I mean, but the thing is, Amoonguss is just taking a lot of damage from these incoming sludge bombs, right? So he needs to pray that he like maybe gets a crit or something, or not even a crit, right? Just yeah. So now Daniel needs to call if he's gonna go. He goes for the protect here, right? Spore Stomping Tantrum from Josh, just like a standard way for him to get advantage if the Spore goes off, and then he can just like keep Stomping Tantruming, right? So I mean, whether Weezing wants to go for the taunt here or not is kind of risky, right? But if it does go for the taunt with it outspeeding Amoonguss, it is actually a pretty good play here. So Dragonite taking a little bit of the burn chip damage, and he goes for the Stomping Tantrum into the Weezing. He can't really protect anymore, and he goes for the Spore here, right? And it is kind of relatively riskless play here, right? Because even if it goes for the taunt, that means it kind of wasting a turn going for the taunt, right? And yeah, there it is, the taunt. Spore being kind of negated here, right? But but now the issue is, right, taunt does not stop pollen puff, right? So it can just start pollen puffing or grass knotting. Grass knot might not do too much damage, but it can just start pollen puffing into Dragonite, and taunt is not really to Weezing here, right? And from the damage before, it doesn't. Yeah, from the damage before, it's not doing super high amount of damage, right? So uh, Weezing really really sticking in there with the leftovers and whatnot. But the Moongus free to pollen puff the Dragonite, even though it took all that chip. No, free to pollen puff it, and Weezing being faster than the Moongus and having to deal with Bird Dragonite is very interesting, right? But the only issue is that if a Moongus doesn't go down, um, it it will it can go down to timer here, right? So might go down to timer. We'll see, right? Does he go for the sludge bomb into the Amoonguss? Amoonguss. Okay, so the Amoonguss it might actually survive another sludge bomb here, right? So I mean, might be sticking around for like 2 or 3 more turns with the with the Weezing just sticking in there like a champ with the leftovers, right? Just like, because again, Stomping Tantrum not doing much damage, and Amoonguss actually shaking off the taunt here. I think we're gonna see another protect coming in from yeah, we're probably gonna see another protect coming in here, right? And actually Josh realizing that he's getting a little low on his power points here, right? So I'm gonna opt for the aerial ace to save it, right? And there we go, look at that. So really smart decision on his part, right? Now he could actually maybe go for maybe he could actually go for a Stomping Tantrum turn, right? And it's very it's a very slow game, and it's most likely going to come down to timer from right. I mean, might see maybe when selecting how much time he has in the game. He's a good amount of your time and move time, but I mean, the overall game clock is ticking down really slowly. Ooh, and he gets a good chunk. Was that a crit? Oh no, it wasn't a crit. That was just a high roll. He taunts the Amoonguss here, and it looks like Weezing only has a few. Um, it looks like Weezing only has a what do you call it? Stomping Tantrum left right? And I think Josh is gonna go again. Like, oh, okay. I mean, I can preserve these power points here. So again, very long game. Goes for the aerials, doesn't actually get the protect off. Goes for the sludge bomb. Amoonguss survives with 14 HP. Goes for the pollen puff into the wheezing. Oh, it's so low. My goodness. So I mean, the fact that the fact that Daniel didn't protect there means he's probably out of protects, or either he wants to preserve them for the end game here, right? Does need to hope that he doesn't get caught out by this extreme speed here. And Weezy going for the protect again. Okay, so pretty good on Josh there to not use a stomping tantrum again, because he can use it again. He could probably get it. I wouldn't say he would probably get it with the double up, but yeah, Pollen Puff going into the Dragonite, keeping the health topped up here, and again, no, we're going the distance on this game too here. Even even if Josh still somehow wins this, we're in for a doozy of a game 3. Um, and Amoonguss shaking off the taunt here, so actually, Weezing has to go for an attack here, very specifically enough, right? Or else it's forward. Goes for the Stomping Tantrum. Is it gonna do enough damage? Oh, it just lives on 1 HP. It goes for the Sludge Bomb. Oh, and Amoonguss gets KO'd here. And now, it is just Weezing versus the Dragonite here. Um, Weezing will get 2 more turns of two most likely get 2 more turns of leftovers healing. It'll all depend on whether this aerial ace or the extreme speed is going to be a lot. And also, honestly, Daniel's protect's getting pretty low here too. So it's either we're gonna go down to a crit, or we're gonna go down to a high damage roll. Next thing here, right? Because we know stomping tantrums are not really right. So yeah, it's gonna be rough here, and he's going again. He's going for the stab area, same type attack bonus aerial ace. Let's see if this KOs. We're going to game 3. Yes, we're going to game 3. Finally, after a long and grueling game 2, we're going to a game 3. Both these players have really sticking it in there. I mean, well played to both of them. So, and now I was thinking that was gonna be. I thought Weezing was gonna pull it through there. I mean, it was a doozy here. And Josh, I mean, honestly, playing that really well despite having like a burn Pokemon, and that being the case, right? I mean, Josh pulled it through, right? And I mean, maybe with a little bit better of luck, maybe if he doesn't get maybe like poisoned on the Flutter Mane or something, right? He would have been able to keep that Flutter Mane a lot, keep that Flutter Mane a lot longer, right? And yeah, and it's really interesting, right? So Weezing, I like Josh's strategy against the Weezing, right? Where he can kind of just KO everything around it. And now after that game, I'm pretty sure he also thinks that he can, if he just preserves his power points a little better, he could probably actually like pull this through even burn, right? KO that being like, you know, just KOing everything. So it's really really interesting a really interesting matchup here, right? You know, Pikachu maybe looking a little tired here, right? I mean, maybe he doesn't like matches that go down to timers, but I mean, maybe me too, honest. But like, I mean, it's very interesting, right, to see how players wanna play a long and grinded out game, right? Whether they want to go for the timer or go for the straight up go for the timer, or just actually straight up get the KOs, right? So I mean, so yeah, I mean, this is Weezing, very bulky guy here. So we're gonna go in to game 3 after a doozy of that game 2. We're gonna Here we go. Iron Hands Weezing staying in the lead of his first game for Daniel here, and Josh goes to the Dragonite Fluttermane. Okay, so now that's actually interesting here, right? Because it does provide a fake out target and a Will-O-Wisp target for the for the using an Iron Hands, right? But crucially here, right, Iron Hands is very threatened by a Moonblast here, right? And And it's actually very interesting also because of that threat of the Moonblast. You could easily go for a double up into the Iron Hand. Right? I mean, actually maybe not a full double up, right? But I mean, um, yeah, maybe not a full double up just because of how extreme speed does. Right? I mean, you can get flinched because neutralizing gas, right? But I mean, he's actually gonna switch into moves here and go for protect. So this is actually really interesting. This is actually probably a read from last game where he kind of just went heavy slam into the flutter main, right? So he's probably recognizing that and just gonna play safe with the protect here. And he's actually Daniel here is gonna actually pop the terastallization here and gonna go into water, right? I mean, I'm guessing he's just playing it safe because he probably thinks blast is coming in, and he's not wrong for thinking that, right? He's probably gonna go for a heavy slam here into the protect of the flood main. Well played by Josh here. 100%. Will-O-Wisp going into the Moongus, right? And I'm sure Josh knew that, considering Daniel's priorities on the situation here, right? So we'll get that. And now Amoongus is relatively safely on the field, and now it is a big, it is a very, I would say it is a very kind of a hard turn, for Josh here, right? Because switches out, he probably gets burned. If he stays, probably, yeah, if he stays, then it's probably rough here, right? So he does have the option to go for the grass knot in the very heavy Iron Hands, right? I mean, Hand's very heavy Pokemon. See how much those heavy slams do, right? So I mean, you could potentially go for a grass knot and maybe switch resist, but at the same time, that resist might get burned, right? So he's gonna go for a spore here into the Iron Hands and Fluttermane. I guess he's just gonna try to get as much damage as he can possibly get, right? And I'm thinking he's willing to make this trade and just a spore for a spore. Oh no, he's rage powdering. Okay, that's really good. So the heavy slam, he is gonna take a little bit of damage on the immunes, but I mean, it might be worth it here. Let's see how much it does. It just does little over, like probably exactly half on. So the Immunis goes in. It is unable to use rage powder or spore next turn here, but the heavy slam does go into it. Does a good amount of damage. Is the burn gonna take it into citrus berry range? Not quite. So yeah, so Amoongus does have a citrus berry to rely on if it wants to take like maybe an extra hit next turn, right? Maybe like a, maybe like a sludge bomb and a heavy slam, right? But now what's actually really interesting is the Amoongus can take those hits, so it actually can go for a grass knot into this, right? And it's actually just going straight for the Moonblast here. The big attacks here, and oh, it barely KOs the Iron Hands. Sludge Bomb goes out into the Flutter Mane, does over half, and the Heavy Slam probably gonna take out the Flutter Mane here. Yeah, he goes for the Heavy Slam, and yeah, Flutter Mane is gone. Is, however, trading it for this Iron Hands. The Grass Knot's gonna go in, 100% accurate move. Iron Hands has 1 HP left. Oh, I actually went for the Pollen Puff here. Grass Knot, Pollen Puff, kind of same moves here, right? I mean, they both traded their terrestrialized Pokemon, but now there is a distinct issue here though, where I mean, while Amoongus can redirect the Will-O-Wisps, right? It is Daniel most likely has like two very threatening. Yeah, it probably has two very threatening on uh on Daniel's side, right? So even if he goes for like a Rage Powder here with Moongus to redirect, like maybe Chi or like let's say what would Chi or an Iron Bundle attack, right? Both of them have spread move. Two, this is a little rough, right? And now, but the thing is, Daniel is actually under a very interesting situation here because he could just click protect on. He could actually just click protect on Iron Bundle, right? But especially since Josh is a scarf, right? So I mean, could and Rage Powder is actually not available because of that earlier taunt. So it's gonna be really tough for Josh to make this play. But if he knows, right, he will Oh, yeah. So I was gonna say maybe he get into that and go for surging strikes on Wheezing here, but unfortunately, he's probably gonna take a burn. Um, it's a big mind game. It's a very big mind game with Hershey and Wheezing here, right? I mean, he might have had to make the prediction there, right? Considering how like annoying this matchup really is, right? So now both Pokemon burned, but crucially, right? Again, this grass not gonna um actually it's actually really interesting here, right? Because like close combat is still probably gonna do a lot of damage, right? Since bundle can protect, if he goes into Chi, you still do a lot of damage. The freeze dry comes out. Let's see if the Urshifu could live this. It does not live this. Um, Probably another grass knot coming out into this iron bundle, but let's see how much the sludge bomb does. Does a good amount here, and let's see how much the grass knot does. Does about half, and actually just can stay on the field for like maybe one more turn. But it's actually really it can actually rage powder here, right? Um if it wants to deter something from the wheezing here, right? But it is it is quite a mind game. He might need to go for the attack or something, maybe Pollen bundle, right? Tantrum. Um Icy Wind coming out, no extreme speed here. Does a lot of damage to that Dragonite. Amoonguss actually goes down to it, so even even if he tried to Rage Powder there, the taunt, the oh, he actually just goes for the Sludge Bomb, trying to finish the game. This get the he doesn't get the burn. Wheezing just took nothing from that. So I mean, um, all Josh could really probably just extreme speed the Iron Bundle, hope it KO. Like, yeah, this is done and dusted here. Daniel played the Wheezing extremely well. Good games to both players. Josh figured out a really good way out of it in game two, but Daniel adapted really well, right, with the Dress Lasers, Iron Hands. So yeah, good job to both players. I mean, very long set, but I mean, it was really fun to watch. I mean, sure, Pikachu here also enjoyed it here. So yeah, thanks for watching the set. I mean, we'll be back with round two in like maybe like 5-10 minutes, depending on how how the stuff goes. So I'll see you guys.